Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It is Wednesday today, so I've got 3 more days before the Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society's fall show and sale. So I've got to get my trees ready. I already have my willow leaf ficus here. It's all ready. I just have to pick out a stand for it. And today I'm going to look around for some other trees that I can put in the show. I'm not going to duplicate trees in the KW show and the Toronto show. So in the Toronto show, I'm going to try and enter my Sarissa and the Taprome Temple. And maybe my Vietnam style ficus, we'll see. So I'm going to look around for other trees for the Kitchener-Waterloo show. Another tree I was thinking might be ready for the fall show is my Burttdavya ficus. So let's get it out on the bench and have a look at it. Here is a look at the tree. So the canopy is filling out. It's not totally full yet, but it's not too bad. It would need a bit of a trim. There's some shoots sticking up at the back. You can see them here. And some at the front here. So a little bit of a trim, and I think it would look okay. There's some aerial roots growing back here. There's one sticking straight up there. So that might need a little cleanup work too. I don't want any aerial roots on this one. It's styled to be an African ficus growing in a drier region. So I'll do the cleanup on it and then decide if it's ready for a show. Okay, I'm going to begin by doing some pruning. So I'll tackle the most obvious branches first. So there's one sticking up here, and I'll prune. There's an outward facing leaf at the front and here, so I can prune off just above that. There's another shoot sticking up here. I can prune it off right, I think right here. I'm looking, I don't see any scale insects or anything on the tree, so that's good. There's one here, I'll prune to a leaf fanning up the back here. And then there's one sticking up here that I can prune back. And I've got to find a leaf that is facing outwards. I think it'll be just the tip off. There's an old leaf in here. I can clean out any leaves that are kind of not looking good, if they're malformed. Yellowy, not looking good, you can just prune them away. So that's got that side of the canopy pruned up. Well, maybe this one needs it too. I think I'll take the tip off this one. Slight adjustment there. And then out the back I have some shoots up here. So I will take this one off to here, this one off to here, and this one off to here. And this one, let's see. I can only take the tip off. Do a bit of weeding here. And there's a weed in here I can pull out. Any leaves that have fallen down, I can get rid of those. And this doesn't have any moss on it, so I would have to moss it up for the show. So I may have to take a road trip on the bike and get some more moss. And if you see any cobwebs in the canopy, it's best to clean those out too and relocate the spiders if you can. Because if you tear their web down, they'll rebuild it overnight. And when you take it to the show, you'll have this cobweb on your tree. There's another yellow leaf I can prune off there. Some leaves hanging down there. Okay, so now I've got some aerial roots. I have one sticking out of the soil here that I'll have to prune back. That one just came right out. And I've got some hanging down here from the branch. Normally I would like those, but on this ficus I'm keeping it free of aerial roots. So I need to prune that aerial root away. And it starts right here. So there's that aerial root. Now there's also an aerial root sticking straight up from the junction here. I'm going to take that out too. Don't want that. And there's a shoot coming off on the inside here. I'm not sure if I want that one. Don't think so. I'm going to take it out. Like that. There's another weed. So I did repot this tree this year. And it seems to be growing really well. And I don't know, I think the last time I repotted it, I didn't have a lot of roots. I think I must have repotted it, and maybe the footage didn't turn out, or I can't remember. But it wasn't on my channel. So it is possible that I lost the footage of doing it. There's a fig that's fallen down there. Just pick any debris off the surface you can to clean it up. Expose the roots a little bit here. Okay, so I think, you know, that's basically as pruned up as I can get the tree. I mean, I could, oh, there's a butterfly in here. A dead butterfly. Wow, I'm finding all kinds of things. Well, there's a couple more aerial roots here too. Yeah, I'm not going to go in and like prune the structure of the branch. It would look too empty. I find trees, it's, even though the structure isn't great, it's better to have them look fairly full for the shows, rather than, you know, refining the structure and getting them maybe technically better, but, you know, you end up with 50% of the foliage and the tree looks very bare. So that will be coming up. Maybe after the show season, I will start working on the structure of the tree a bit. Okay, so the next step would be to moss it up. And I have to decide, am I going to put it in the show? I think so. I think it's kind of a cool style. This very low, wide-spreading, flat-top style. It's inspired by the, you know, the African ficus growing in the plains. I've seen some photos of them, and they're fantastic. I'll show you a photo now. So that's the style I'm going for, and it's made a lot of progress since I first got this tree. It was sort of a cascade tree when I first got it, and I've been doing a lot of styling work on it to get it into this style, and it's getting there. It definitely has a style. It just needs more and more refinement, and that's going to take years and years to get, you know, this beautiful structure with layers and this canopy. Yeah, the refinement never ends. Getting the basic structure is just the first step. And it's fun. I like doing both. I like developing trees, from cutting seeds, getting the basic structure, and then from then on, you're into the like refining, always picking your best branches, pruning away the others, maintenance pruning. And yeah, slowly the tree improves, the trunk gains character. Yeah, you just keep looking at the defects of your tree and try and overcome the defects, so your tree is just good all round. Root base, trunk, branch structure, leaves, everything. So right now on this tree, the leaves are very large for this species, but I'm not going to defoliate it or anything. It's way too late in the season for that, and I needed the development time to get this looking good this year. So I think the next step is moss up the tree. Here's a look at the tree now from the front view. So yeah, I think, you know, when is your tree ready for a show? Well, never. You can keep refining them until the day you die, but I think this tree has a style. It's got a lot of the structure in place. So I'll start mossing it up. Here's a look at the moss that's left over from the last time I mossed up the Sarissa. So it was in a bag, but it dried up. So I'm rehydrating it. I've got it in trays of water. And I think it'll be enough. I'm going to apply it kind of sparsely to the landscape and then add sand for the rest, kind of giving it that dry savanna look. So that's what I'll try and do. So I'll let this soak for a little bit, just let it soften up, and then I can apply it to the landscape. I was looking at the soil surface level, and I think it's just a little high. So I'm going to comb away a bit of the soil from the surface, because when I apply the sand and the moss, I think it would stick up a bit too high. Not by much, but just a little bit. So I'll just take away a bit of the surface soil. I think that's down to about the right level. So because this pot is a sand color, what I'm going to do with the moss is concentrate the moss on the outer edges of the landscape and then just have sand underneath the tree. So anything growing in the sunlight is green, and anything in the shade will just be sand. And I think that'll look good with this sand colored pot. If I made sand right up to the edge, well, the pot would just blend in with the landscape too much. So my moss is pretty moist now. You'll notice it's not a very green color. That's because it was dried out. But I think by the time of the show, it'll be a nice bright green as it rehydrates and starts to grow. If not, I mean, the mute colors would work nicely with the desert landscape. Grass is usually not all that green in the desert. Sometimes it's like green grass that's dried out, so more of a straw color. Yeah, so that's ready to apply now. So here I go. I got a big clump here. I'll put it right. Maybe that one can go in the, I don't want it right in the corner. Maybe right there. Push it down firmly into the bonsai soil. Like that. And I need a corner piece. I think this one will work for the corner. A little piece to fill that hole in there. And then I've got a great big piece here. I think I'll put that on the opposite side over here. And I may have to go out and get more moss. I'm sure I will. There'll be other trees I have to moss up for the show. And ideally, you know, you do all this work in advance of the show. Like a couple of weeks in advance, but sometimes you're not sure if the tree's going to be ready until just before the show. Like my Taprom temple. It's leafing out now, but I wasn't sure. Yeah, I'm quite sure by the weekend this moss will be nice and green. It's amazing what water, fertilizer, and sunlight do to moss. It makes it green up really quickly. So I'm doing around the edges first. I want, you know, all the edges of the pot to have green moss beside them. So you have that sand color, the moss color, and then back to sand under the base of the tree. So I'll work away applying the moss all the way around the perimeter. And if I run out, well, I'll have to go out and get more moss. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to run out because this isn't going very far. And it hasn't rained here in
We've had very little rain. It rained once in the last month, and not that hard. So everything's going to be very dry. So I don't know what condition the moss will be in where I collect it normally. It might be totally dry like this stuff was, which might be good. It might match this moss nicely. You don't want like vivid lush moss and this kind of more muted color together. It would look a bit strange. Okay, that's it for my moss. So I'm off to collect more moss.
I went out and collected a bag full of moss. It is pretty dry, but there's some of it was still green. So I'll lay it out in my trays and rehydrate it and keep working on the landscape. Okay, I think the rest can be sand. I was checking my reference photos of, ficus growing in Africa, and a lot of them do have sand or soil underneath the tree, surrounded by grasses, so I think it'll look quite good. Just reducing the soil level a bit for the sand here. Okay, on goes the layer of sand around the base of the tree. And I'll put it on the moss, and the excess will just wash off, and it should make a good transition between the sand and the moss after I water it. So it's always good to put too much sand on, and then as you water it, it kind of goes into all the crevices. A little more in here. Okay, I think that'll do. So now I'll give it a good water, and here I go. You can see how the sand flattens out. Okay, I think that will do it. So I'll just pick out any pieces of perlite that have floated to the surface. Any debris that doesn't look good can get picked out. As I water this, the moss will grow and it'll integrate nicely with the sand and look very natural. And I think that'll happen in, just a few days. So just for fun, I'm going to try some animals underneath it to give it that African feel. So there's a lion. That looks pretty good, actually. I envision the tree to be larger, so I think the scale of the lion is a little big. But this tree has a lot of maturing to do. So that's a lion underneath the tree. I've got I think it's a chimpanzee or a gorilla. No, I don't like that. I've got a cheetah, I think. Looks pretty good. Could try a baby elephant. Oh, looks pretty good too. Try a big elephant. That's a little overpowering. It looks cool, but it's just too much. And I have some kind of a primate here. I think I like either the lion or the cheetah the best. The lion certainly says Africa. And the cheetah, pretty cool too. I think I'm going to leave it with the cheetah for now. I don't know if I'll put it in the show like that, but it wouldn't hurt. Yeah, so that is the African ficus.
the Burttdavya ficus, ready for its first show.
I'm really liking the tree in the sand-colored pot. It's a really nice pot. It's a Tokonami pot from Japan. And I like the moss, the sand, the color of the trunk matches the pot. And I think this tree has got a good future ahead of it. I think, you know, I've got a lot of work to develop the branch structure and the canopy. And I'm going to grow it quite wide. And it'll stay quite flat. But it should look good, and I'm hoping the trunk gets more character. I get a better root flare in the future. There's lots of stuff to improve on the tree. But I think it's looking, you know, it's looking good. It's got a style to it, and yeah, I think it's ready for its first show. When I look back at the playlist for this tree, it's developed in a short period of time. I've done a lot of major operations to it. Basically severing off all the roots, regrowing a lot of the branches and the style of it, and it's coming along and it's developing very quickly. This is a really good species for bonsai, the Burttdavya ficus. So I would recommend this tree to anyone. It's probably one of the easiest trees to grow, and if you work at it, you can develop it into a really nice tree. You can either have aerial roots come off it, or you can just keep it plain like this. And they develop quite quickly in a short period of time with, you know, with a lot of techniques. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.